I am so super excited today to bring you from Class C Tuckahoe High School in Westchester County to Fairfield University to the Cape Cod League, now at Triple A Arizona Diamondbacks, the Reno Aces. Austin Pope is going to be joining us today. Stay tuned. Welcome back to 90 Feet Away. As promised, I have one of my favorite human beings on this planet joining us today, straight out of Westchester County's Tuckahoe High School, through his journey to Fairfield University, the Cape Cod League, and then the Arizona Diamondbacks, where he is now at Triple A, the Reno Aces. Help me welcome Austin Pope to the show today. And Austin, thank you for being here with us.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Hell yeah, dude.
I've been waiting for this for a little while.
Me too, dude. You know, the schedules just don't work out. You know, sometimes, between the time difference in your schedule, but I truly appreciate you getting there early for us today.
Yeah, absolutely.
So much of what we talk about on this show is helping kids through their journey. How does a guy, a normal kid who played at a C school meaning the size of the school, Tuckahoe High School in Westchester, New York, start his journey? When did you think that you were pretty decent at this game, Austin? How old were you, and how did this really take off for you?
Man, that's a loaded question. I think I always had like this mindset that I was good at the game, but you don't, coming from such a small school in such a small area, like you're in this bubble. So you're playing tiny schools, and the baseball at that level isn't what other people in the country are playing. So the kids that are in Florida, like we didn't have the same baseball, like, you know what I mean? Like it was very, very different. So, I mean, playing in those levels, like I thought I was good. So I feel like I had like this false identity of how good I actually was. I feel like it wasn't until I was playing probably for you where it was like, okay, hold on, there's other competition here. And I gotta change some things if I want to keep playing this game. Cause I mean, again, you saw me at 14, 15, 16. I wasn't anything special. Like I had to do some things.
Well, you were always special to me. I mean, people don't understand when I say C school. For the people that don't understand, the level, the A, the double A, the B, the C goes on the amount of kids in the school. So therefore, these C teams are playing other schools with similar student body numbers. So it's not like, Austin went to a C school on purpose. It was just where he lived. It was where he grew up. I have vivid memories of you at about 15, still trying to play third base. And
Yeah.
I introduced you to what life as a PO was going to be for you, what it meant to be a pitcher only, because I truly felt that your upside on the mound was tremendous. But I also have other memories, like the day I almost punched you in the face when we were playing.
I already know what you're going to say. I already know what you're going to say.
When we were playing in Portchester in the fall, and I called a timeout, and I asked you where your release point was for your curveball, and you basically said, over there. And I said, no, seriously, what are you aiming at? And you looked at me, and you said, over there. You really
Yeah,
did.
home plate.
Home plate. Like you were that raw at 15.
Yeah.
And listen, you were always an incredibly hardworking kid and a respectful kid, a tremendous teammate. But your growth from 15 into college was kind of off the charts. what really inspired you to put in that type of work? And then what did you do to really prepare yourself for life after Tuckahoe? I mean, obviously, we could talk about it. You played for me and you played some tremendous competition, and we went to all the showcases. We went down to Georgia. You then joined me with the New York Grays, and we played 17-year-old tournaments up and down the East Coast. But what was it for you that really set that ball in motion, where you kind of started to understand what you needed to do, Austin?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there were definitely a couple of people in my life at that time that helped me a ton. I mean, the list can go on and on and on throughout this process. Again, going from that small of an environment at 14, 15, and then getting to this point, there's a lot of people that helped. A couple key ones, my father, Brian Slocum was a big influence. Just kind of going through the process of understanding, okay, I'm not just naturally gifted to where I can lift my leg and throw 99. That wasn't in the cards for me at 15. I wasn't throwing 90 miles an hour. That wasn't in the cards. So I had some people break down like, okay, if you truly want to play college baseball, things are going to have to change. You're going to have to put in a workout program that is going to have to be consistent throughout the year. It's going to have to be 4, 5, 6 days a week. That's like a standard. It's going to have to happen. Throwing program. It's going to happen. We have to lay some things out so that it's consistent, and it's got to be year long. It can't just be, oh, you're playing baseball for the spring. That's not how this works anymore. And I didn't understand that at the time. I knew nothing about college baseball. I knew nothing about pro ball, like nothing. I was just playing baseball, having fun. I loved it. So, there was definitely some people, you included, that sat me down and were like, hold on a minute. Like, if you truly want to do this, you're going to have to commit, and it's going to take years to get to what you want to do.
While maintaining your academics, while trying to have a social life. And again, it's not that long ago that I remember Austin Pope, the football player.
Yeah.
Right? So you had some tough decisions to make. What age were you when you finally stopped playing football to pursue working out and doing your baseball all year round?
I think my last year was my sophomore year of high school, when I was like, okay, the next year, because junior year is like when you're going to get scouted, and like I needed to make some changes if I wanted to play college baseball. I loved football, absolutely loved it. I liked playing basketball. I liked multiple different sports, but I knew that baseball was my passion from day one, and that's what I wanted to do. So I kind of just committed to that, and knowing that I needed to put in the time there. Again, I didn't have the I don't know if you want to call it athletic ability. I don't know, but I wasn't a kid that could play multiple sports and then go play and pick one sport for college. That's just, I wasn't good enough at the time. So I needed to kind of put all my eggs in one basket and go for it.
But how many Deion Sanders and Bo Jacksons are there, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
in true reality, right? So you dedicate yourself to really trying to get stronger, hone your craft, whether it was here with Brian, under the tutelage of your dad, as you said. What drove you? Because, there are kids that are they're good enough to be good enough. And that wasn't okay for you, right? You wanted to be, and when you got to, the elusive, double snowman, you're throwing 88. That wasn't good enough. You wanted to get to 90. And then 90 was like just a milestone, and we keep pushing. But, what was it that really set this ball in motion for you of never being good enough and the work ethic? What was it that you saw when you did dedicate yourself to it, Austin? And when did that happen?
Yeah. I feel like it was just the way I am as a person. Like in anything I do, I want to be the best. I'm super competitive. Um, Not that I am the best at everything, but like when I find something that I like and I enjoy and that it's something competitive, I am gonna find a way to be good at it. I mean, this can go for anything. I mean, in my college house, we had a ping pong table, and the amount of games we played on ping pong on a Friday night when we had a Saturday game the next morning, people are partying and like, no, me and my friends, like we're getting after it on the ping pong table. No, but I just super competitive from the start. I think it was just the way I was raised, to try to be the best in anything that you commit yourself to. Um, yeah, I mean, even like to this day, I'm always like trying to find ways to get better. I don't know where that exactly came from, um, but yeah, I'm always trying to find the next little thing that is going to make me a better player. And it can go so far with nutrition and how well you're doing for sleep and hydration and so many little things that you don't even at the time I didn't know anything about this. And again, I think it started off I just loved baseball. And it started there and going through high school and then trying to get to college. Like I wanted to continue to play. So, okay, what do I need to do to continue to play? Uh-oh, we lost some lights. I got to move around.
Okay.
I just wanted to, I just wanted to continue to play. So when I got to college, when I was a freshman, our coach, Bill Courier, he did a great job. When I came in, we had a junior, his name was Gavin Wallace, and he was getting scouted to play professionally. And again, like I was just happy I was playing college baseball, let alone at a D1. Um, and he brought me in the office and he was like, "Watch what Gavin does. Follow him. He's doing everything right. He's the hard worker. He's good in school. He's a good teammate. Um, he's going to be our number one starter this year. Like I want you to be like the mini me of him. Just follow him, see what he does." And I kind of took that and ran with it. I was just seeing what he did and how he worked and how other people on the team worked. I think that was a really good environment for me to kind of learn from.
So that's awesome. I mean, Gavin ended up being a peer mentor for you, which is outstanding. I'm
Yeah,
so happy that you brought up nutrition and sleep and not playing video games till 3 in the morning and really, almost taking inventory of everything outside of the game, right? Because everything affects how we perform, how I sleep, how I recover, what I'm putting into my body, right? It's real easy
yeah,
to stop by a burger joint and grab a burger after a game, but that's probably not the best thing to do after I've just gone out there and worked my butt off. You got to Fairfield University, Division I program. Were you a guy right away? Were you a guy, or did
no,
that take time? No, right? So talk to me about
no,
that.
no. I definitely wasn't a guy when I showed up. Yeah, I mean, in high school, senior year, I was throwing maybe touching 86, 87, like maybe scraping it. Um, I was 84, 85. Um, at some showcases, I scraped some numbers that kind of spiked some interest. Um, I put a lot of work in that year, and I want to say the week before I went to college, I hit my first 88, and I was like, "Wow, okay, like we're getting somewhere. We're starting to move the ball here a little bit." And then got to Fairfield, and it was like day one, intense workout program is starting. Like you are on the college weightlifting program, you're doing everything that the team is doing. And we had a scout day. I remember this. We had a scout day in the fall, and this is about a month and a half in. And I was on the mound, and they were like, "Oh, like we're gonna get you out there for like 15 pitches." Like, all right, cool, awesome. Super nervous. That was the first time pro scouts were around. I didn't even know that we had a scout day at the time. Again, like I was so raw, I knew nothing about this.
Because no scouts were coming to
Um,
Tuckahoe High School.
yeah, no, no, there was no one. There was
Right.
15 people at those games. And I ended up touching a 93 that day. so I went from not being able to throw hard at all to, okay, spiking some interest even in the coaches, like, oh, okay, hold on, he can actually play a little bit. And then just through the process of the fall, like showing what type of pitcher I am and that I can actually pitch a little bit. Um, I think I, because my class was actually pretty big at Fairfield. We had 12 guys coming in that year, and they had guys that were starters that were on scholarship. Like those guys are ahead of me, so I had to kind of beat them out a little bit for the weekday spot that season, which is like funny to think about now, being a bullpen guy in pro ball. But that's what it was at the time. I was again trying to be not even the weekend starter, which is funny. Like that's what everyone's trying to be. Like, no, I just wanted to get some starts
Right.
and play.
Right. Right. So you get your opportunities. You do really well. You get a temp contract, right? People don't know what a temp contract is, so I'm going to explain it real quick. The Cape Cod League is the highest level of college baseball that you can play. Most of the time, no disrespect to Fairfield, but most of the time they're not looking for smaller schools, small D1 schools like Fairfield, to send guys to the Cape Cod League. You got guys from, Florida, LSU, Florida State, Tulane, Georgia. I mean, the best of the best guys that are going to get drafted are going to play in the Cape Cod League because every day you're in front of scouts from every organization and you're getting seen. So what happens is while these teams are finishing up in the College World Series, they will take guys on temp contracts. Normally they're 10-day contracts. You go out there, and as soon as these guys have been either their team lost or their season is over, you're relieved of your duty and you're sent back somewhere else. So you get a 10-day contract with the Bourne Braves in the Cape Cod League, and you never went home. How does that happen?
Yeah, so I this was actually after my sophomore year. We had a decent freshman year for how many innings I pitched. I was the weekday starter coming into the sophomore year after summer ball. I was with the Pittsfield Suns my freshman year summer, and then kind of similar situation. We had a scout day in the fall, and at this time, like I kind of knew what it was and knew what to do and what they're looking for. And I went out there and ended up touching I think a 94. And after that, spiked some interest a little bit from what I'm hearing. And then our pitching coach and our coach at the time essentially made a call. Like, we think you're ready. We think you can do it. We're going to try to get you a temporary contract in the Cape Cod League. We don't know what team yet, but we're gonna push a little bit. I think a couple months later, I kind of got you have a temp contract. You're going to go to the Bourne Braves. Went there, was under the impression that I was there. I was going to be there for 2 weeks. It's going to be a 14-day contract. And I started a game. I pitched well. And the pitching coach, I remember specifically, came up to me after. He was like, wow, man, that was a really good outing. Like, everything looked really good. I was like, oh, thank you. And then had another start. And right before that start, I'm warming up. And he's like, hey, just by the way, we were going to send you home, but one of the scouts, really liked your curveball. So throw it a lot today. I was like, okay, done. Easy. Threw a lot of curveballs. Okay, after that start, they came back. They really like your curveball. We're holding you. You're going to have another start here. So it's going to go past the 14 days. You might get one more. We don't know. Had another start. And I hear that, throw your curveball. I'm throwing a lot of curveballs. I'm going for strikeouts. I'm going to throw it. I'm going to try to show it off as much as I can while I'm here. And that went on for about 3 more starts. Hey, we're going to keep you from one more start. And then it was, I don't know, you're here for the summer. They like you. They want to keep seeing you. We like you. You're a good teammate. You're good to be around. So we're gonna keep you for the summer. So that was obviously really exciting, knowing what type of league that was. Again, especially coming from Fairfield University, where now I would like to think that the baseball program is getting a lot better, and they're getting a lot more wins and more prospects and all that type of stuff. But at the time, again, like you said, like I was with players from Texas, players from Florida, and they would say, "Oh, where are you from?" I'd say Fairfield, and be like, "Oh, what is that? Like a D3? Where is that? Alaska? Like where is that?" They never heard of it. So yeah, I was a little bit out of my element, but I made the most of it.
Yeah, but you weren't out of your element, right? You were out of your element as far as where you came from, but you proved every time you stepped out on the mound that you belong there, and you gained the respect of everyone you played with and against. And it's that in itself is an incredible story, because I can tell you there are other guys that are at your level today at AAA that I know personally that was sent home after one start. Thank you. We appreciate you being here, and now go back to, whatever league you were going to play in. Keep your shorts, keep your T-shirt, and nice, kind of nice knowing you type of thing.
Yeah.
So you have this outstanding summer. Unbelievable. Now you're on a whole bunch of people's radars. You go back for your junior season, your junior year at Fairfield, and again, all of a sudden you turn into the guy. You're the guy, right? You put your time in. You started out being mentored, knowing you're now mentoring younger kids that are coming in, because I know that's you and that's who you are. But now you're the guy, or you're a guy, and this starts getting real. And in your starts, there are regularly scouts coming to see Austin Pope. 2019, you get drafted by the Arizona Diamondbacks. Is it real? Do you really think this is happening? Do you expect it at this point? What's going through your mind, Austin?
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely real. I at that time I was playing really well. I knew, based on going to the Cape and competing there, seeing like, okay, these are going to be the first rounders. Like, these are going to be the guys that are going in the first round, getting millions of dollars, and I'm getting them out. Like, that was a kind of an eye-opening experience. Like, okay, no, hold on, I do belong here. I can play a little bit. That was my first real glimpse of like, okay, this is real baseball, and I'm competing, and like my stuff is working here.
I belong here.
Yeah, that was my first glimpse of that, and then going through the whole process, being scouted, and going through the process of that junior year, you start to develop like, okay, I do belong here a little bit. And I think this should happen. And then you're hearing things like rounds and what round you're going to go and all these different things. And you start to develop that like, okay, no, this is going to happen. This is real. And it kind of takes that full year. It wasn't like, oh, this is going to, and I was surprised. It wasn't like a very quick thing. If you asked me at 15 years old, is this surprise? Yeah, 100%. But going through that process, I don't want to say I was surprised. It was definitely an amazing moment, and it was awesome. It was everything came to fruition. But yeah, it was a little surreal going through like the draft process. I didn't really have anyone that I was extremely close with go through that process.
Correct.
Other than Gavin at the time.
Right.
But even then, like, I wasn't with him through the process. I didn't know the phone calls that were being made. I didn't know the back end stuff that was happening. I just knew when I was going to games freshman year, there was 20 scouts watching him every single game. And then draft day came and I saw his name get called, but like, I didn't see the behind the scenes things.
Sure.
So that process was another kind of crazy process to go through. I wish I knew what I know now, but again, that's with everything in life. So
absolutely. You can always look backwards.
Yeah.
So you get drafted in 2019, and you go to the Hops, correct?
Originally it was Missoula.
Oh, Missoula. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Missoula Osprey, which isn't it's I think an independent league now.
Correct.
But yeah, I went to Missoula, Montana, which was interesting. Again, I'm from Westchester, New York. Like, I am out of my element already going to Arizona, and I'm there for like a week and a half, and they're getting me built up on their program and getting me used to the things that they do. And I had a 1 inning thing in the Arizona League, the Arizona Rookie League. So I was there for an inning, and then they were like, "We're going to place you on a team. It's rather going to be Missoula or Hillsborough." Those were the two rookie balls at the time. And they told me after the game, they handed me a flight. You're going to Missoula, Montana. I was like, where's Montana? I don't know where am I going?
Uh,
So they send me to Montana, and I show up, and this was weird. I showed up at like 7 o'clock at night. I landed there. The team was away, so I was like alone. I had some friends on the team, but they were like, "Yeah, we're not getting back till like 4 a.m."
right.
So I was like, "All right," and I land, and it's 9 p.m. and it's still bright out. It's like, what is happening over here? This is different. But yeah, started out in Missoula, Montana.
Start out in Missoula, and then at what point do you get to Hillsborough? The same year?
No.
Let me go back for a second then. So
Yeah.
2019, you spend the year in Missoula, and then the craziest thing that ever happened to anybody happens, COVID-19, right?
Yep.
So 2020, you never even reported, right? Like there was nothing going on.
I reported for early camp, and it got shut down during that. So I was there for early camp, which is essentially when they bring starters in to build up a little bit before the season. It's the time where they're bringing in first-year players, second-year players who are kind of new to this. They want to see them and make sure that they're progressing the right way to get ready for the season. And I was there for that. And we had a meeting one day essentially explaining what COVID was. And they said, like, yeah, like there's going to be fans here. We're still allowing fans here. But if like you don't feel comfortable signing stuff, that's completely fine. Just say like you're not comfortable. And then we went a longer day, like nothing was going on. And then later that day, I'm supposed to pitch. I was supposed to throw like 3 innings or something, or a 3 inning bullpen. And I go to the weight room to start warming up, and it's closed. And they're like, "Oh no, we can't let anyone in here." I'm like, okay, where am I supposed to warm up? And they're like, "Oh, just do it outside." So I start warming up outside, and then someone came and grabbed me. They're like, "Hey man, like you got to come inside, like pack your stuff, like we're shutting down for the day." And then they had a meeting essentially saying like we're going to send you home. And then that was it. I went home until I reported in 21.
So not for you, for everybody, right? That's got to be just the toughest thing. How do you now stay in shape physically, mentally, emotionally? You're ready to do this job. You've put all this work in. How do you maintain this, Austin, during COVID?
It was tough, especially in New York. I felt like we were in like the hub of it. We were in the center of it all. I mean, I was trying to go to parks and play catch into a fence. Like I don't think people remember now looking back on it, like how bad it was in New York. Like everything was shut down. People were in their house all day for like months. So it was just hard to find someone to play catch with. Like that wasn't a thing. I literally was going to parks with a bucket of baseballs and throwing into a fence, FaceTiming my pitching coach because he was in Jersey. I was FaceTiming him. I had my girlfriend with a radar gun behind the fence, like, oh, that was 85. Oh, that was 86. Like I was just finding a way. And then it got bad to where people were reporting me for going to these parks, and I was getting kicked off the parks by cops. So I was going at like weird times and late at night to try to do it where cops wouldn't come and see me there. And then eventually I was like, all right, this is getting a little ridiculous. I ended up buying a mound, and I live on a dead end. And I had one of my good friends growing up. He's a catcher, and I would have him come to my house, and I would put that in the middle of the street, and I would throw pens in the middle of my street. I was working out in my basement. Yeah, I mean, I put on the COVID-15. I mean, I was not in the best shape, and that definitely affected my play because 21 was honestly probably like the worst year of baseball I've had in my life. Coming back after COVID, just not competing for a full year was not what I needed as a baseball player.
Well, I think for everybody. I mean, especially, when you are trained to throw a baseball and competitors compete, and now that's been taken away from you. I think that's just kind of a throwaway year, unfortunately, for everybody.
Yeah.
So walk me now into 2021. 2021. Again, your report is everything back to normal, and not really yet.
Not fully. I mean, they're wearing masks. Yeah, no, it definitely wasn't normal. There was a lot of protocols that we had to follow. There were some things that was going on with the vaccine. Um, Things were not normal. That being said, I tried to make the best of it, like anyone can. I started in Visalia, California. What happened was during COVID, the Diamondbacks made, like every other team, they had to make cuts because the rules changed. They only could hold a certain amount of guys. We were one of the teams that made a lot of cuts that year. So we cut, I think, 74, 75 guys going into spring training during COVID. So when we went to A ball, we had a lot of guys there that should have been there that were cut. So they were calling people up from rookie ball and the Dominican League. Like we had really young players to start that year, and we were atrocious. We were so bad as a team, like as a whole. Like I think we were the worst team in baseball. I remember specifically there was one day, and again, like as a locker room, like you have to figure this out together. There was one day it was really bad, and our coach, I'll never forget, he came in and he was like, tomorrow morning, like we're not showing up at 1 o'clock to go for the game. You're showing up at 9 a.m. So I'm like, okay, like all right, what is this going to be? We show up at 9 a.m. The typical college, we're doing the 27 out drill.
Oh boy.
And how bad this was. We were doing the 27 out drill for like 2.5, 3 hours, and we couldn't get past 7 outs. We couldn't get 7 outs consistently. So like we have things to work on. As a whole, like everyone involved, it wasn't like they were just doing ground balls and fly ball. Like pitchers were messing stuff up, like easy stuff. Just that whole year of being shut down, we didn't do that.
Right.
So it took a while for a lot of players to kind of get that fire back and just be able to compete at a high level. Yeah, I mean, I was probably the worst starter in baseball at that point. I had 10 losses and probably like a 15 ERA. I don't even know what the numbers were. But yeah, it was a really bad year. And then it took me a little while, and I want to say towards the end of the year, I kind of figured it out a little bit. And I had 2 good starts in a week. And after those 2 starts, I ended up losing both of those starts too. We lost the game. It was a Tuesday, Sunday. I went Tuesday. I want to say it was like 7 innings, like 1 run, a lot of punch outs, like 10 punch outs, 11 punch outs. Came out with like an 8-run lead, and we lost. And then I went Sunday, and I remember the coaches coming up to me and being like, I'm so sorry, man. Like, we want this so bad for you. We want you to get a win so bad. And like, you finally had a really good one. And I was like, it's all good, man. Like, I'm pitching Sunday again. We'll get it. Pitched Sunday, and again, I went like 7 plus innings, no runs. I want to say it's 12-0, and we lost that game.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I had a good week, and then they were like, hey man, we need to get you out of here. Like, if we put you in the pen and you have like 1 or 2 good outings, we're going to get you out of here. And I was like, all right, let's do it. So that's when I got moved to the pen.
Let me ask you a question, Austin. And only because so much of what I try to talk about on this broadcast is helping kids. Because when things are going well, everything's easy, man. Everything's easy in life when things are going well. When you have 10 losses, what's going through your mind, dude? Like, am I doubting everything I'm doing, or how you get through?
Everything. Yeah. I mean, you're at that point, I again, like I said before, the reason I was scouted was my curveball. Lost it, gone, absolutely gone. And you know me, I'm fully transparent. Um, this was also during a time where people were using sticky stuff. This was the first time I was introduced to it. Like what? Like, all right, where you can do that? Okay. And it was to a point where everyone was doing it, where I had people tell me like, hey, you should start using this stuff. And I had teammates putting in their gloves, like everything. Like a lot of people were using this. Everyone in baseball at the time was using this stuff. So, I mean, I don't say I was like crazy with it, but I'll be honest, I used it like everyone else. And it was during COVID where they were like, hey, you should use it. So I trained all of COVID that whole time with a little bit of it.
I remember.
And I came back, I came back, and they were doing checks, everything. So, okay, we can't use it. Fine. But it was like an instant, like you can't use it. So I think that also led into things. Because again, like if you're throwing a curveball, it's all about like how hard you can spin it in the right direction. But if you have something that's helping you with that spin, you don't have to hold it as hard. And when you do that for a year and a half of COVID, and you come back and you can't do that, and they change the baseballs, like I had no feel for what that pitch was doing, nothing. So I'm going from being a fastball curveball guy up and down to, okay, you're a fastball guy because you don't have a curveball now. So I'm like, okay, I need to find other pitches to throw. So a lot of that process was finding a changeup, finding a slider. At one point during the year, our pitching coach, I absolutely love him, one of the best pitching coaches I've ever had, Barry Enright, who's the big league pitching coach now with the Angels. He was like, hey man, I think it's time to learn a slider. It's time. So I think we gotta do some things because you're getting hit. You don't have a feel for this pitch. Like it's time to learn that. And like, I need you to throw your changeup a lot more.
And it's crazy, right? Because the curveball is what got you signed.
100%.
Okay, go ahead.
100%. So learn some new pitches. Learn to change up, learn to slider, learn confidence in how to throw them. And again, when you're learning a new pitch like that, it's not only learning like how to throw the pitch, it's when to throw the pitch, how to set the next pitch up. Like that was the first time I was really learning all of this stuff. So through that process, like I actually like developed a lot. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about how much I actually want to play this game. I learned a lot about, again, like you said, when things are going right, it's easy to play the game. But when things are going wrong, I mean, you have to kind of dig deep when you're against the wall. And at that time, just to take you into my space mentally, I was terrified of not playing this game. I was terrified of getting released because I just went through a process of COVID. All of my friends that I was with in Missoula released, gone, not playing baseball anymore. They're going into and finding jobs. I'm like, okay, that's a reality that I need to face now. So I was almost playing not to get released instead of to compete and get people out. So you have to dig deep, and when your back is against the wall, you gotta go through it a little bit. So I pushed and found some things that worked, and I started pitching well. And then that's when they said, we're gonna probably move you to the pen here, and we're gonna try to get you to high A. And I think realistically looking back on it, it was good for my career, but at the same time, I was probably about to get released. And that's kind of the natural progression in baseball is that you're a starter and you're not good enough to be a starter anymore. Okay, now you're a pen guy. And if you're not doing good as a pen guy, okay, we're going to try you a sidearm. Like that's kind of the natural progression. So I got moved to the pen. So
one of my favorite T-shirts ever, I think it was the Chicago Cubs a couple of years ago. The entire bullpen pregame was wearing T-shirts that said failed starters.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the greatest thing ever because that is the natural progression in baseball. If my velo or my movement's not good enough, dropping you down is the last option, and then you're done. What happened to your friends in Missoula, I just want to be clear, wasn't just because they were good ball players. after COVID, then we had contraction in baseball, and they cut out a lot of the levels of the minor leagues, which led a lot of these guys' career to either be over or to pursue independent baseball to keep on playing baseball, which, made it even tougher for the guys that remained, right? Like you said, you were almost playing out of fear rather than fun and confidence, which is just crazy. What do you do differently? What have you done differently since to prepare? Because there are hard and easy things about being a starter and a reliever. The easy thing about being a starter is I know when I'm pitching. So I know what I have to do to be prepared on this day. What has changed for you as far as self-care or mental preparation that I could be getting the baseball any day, every day?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of my favorite like cliche sayings is that preparation breeds confidence. I remember specifically at some point during my freshman year of college, and this is something that I kind of fell back on during that time period. There was a start that I had. It was the first time in my life that I was on the mound pitching when I didn't feel prepared. And like the deep pit in my stomach that was, I'm not an anxious person. I don't have anxiety. I don't have depression, like none of that. Like I've never really experienced any of that. The pit in my stomach that I had when I wasn't prepared was like the worst feeling ever. Like I have nightmares about it. For years, I haven't had that in a long time, but for years I was having nightmares about like literally like my nightmares were being on a mound in front of like a lot of people and not being prepared to like do what I wanted to do.
Right.
Like
right.
that was like my worst case scenario in my head. During that time period, again, in that stint where I had like 10 losses, that was the pit that was in my stomach. So I promised myself that I would never feel that again. I never wanted to feel that pit in my stomach. I can deal with getting hit. I can deal with walking people because if something is off. Like I can deal with that, but not being prepared is something that I can't deal with because it's something I can control.
Totally.
So that's something that I kind of take into today's game is I want to feel prepared. And I have found a lot of ways to do that pregame, throughout my day, throughout my daily routine. And finding things that I can do throughout the day so that when I am out there, that isn't even a thought process. I never have that feeling. The difference between the bullpen and starting, when things are going great and you're starting, I feel like it's amazing because you're throwing great. You're throwing every 5 days. You have 4 days off. The other days, like you have to worry about throwing a bullpen. Like starting life is when you're good. It's nice. It's amazing. That being said, when you have 10 losses and your worst pitcher in baseball, that becomes pretty bad because now it's like, okay, I have 5 days to figure this out. And now you haven't figured it out and you haven't figured your stuff out. And now it's like the anxiety build up going into that 5th day to where it's game day and you can't sleep the night before. You're not eating the right things. Like it affects a lot of stuff. So going to the bullpen was actually so freeing at that time because you didn't know when you were going to throw. You have to be ready for every day. You could throw today. You can throw in 3 days. You might not throw in 8 days. You have no idea. So you're showing up to the ballpark every single day. Just I might get in today, but it was so freeing because I didn't have time to think about it. I didn't have to, what hitters am I going to face? How am I going to pitch them? Like the mind as a starter is very different as the mind as a bullpen guy.
Sure.
We're kind of free and easy, just having fun, and then Pope hot, and then 6 pitches as hard as you can, and you're in the game. You don't have to think. So for me, I think it was the best. I feel like I was kind of made, and the way I am as a person is way more suited for the bullpen.
Okay.
Just how I think about things, because I can overthink some things. If I have 5 days to worry about who I'm facing, and I don't face them the right way, I'm going to be pissed at myself because I didn't execute the pitches how I thought it in my head 4 days ago.
But that's what I'm saying, right? Like as a 1-inning relief guy, I'm going out there and I'm trying to throw balls through the catcher's mitt. I'm not prepared because I don't know who I'm facing or when I'm going to face them. So I can't
Yep.
waste my time on stuff like that.
Yep.
Let me ask you a question, Austin. This year in camp, you're in big league games. You ever pitch yourself and think about that little kid in Tuckahoe, probably a little out of shape, little dad bodish, throwing 80 poo, that I'm right there, man. I'm knocking on the door I mean, what goes through your mind now? Like, mommy, daddy, I'm here? Like, what are you thinking?
Uh, Definitely not that I'm here. I don't think that was going through my head. It was definitely surreal. It was definitely a really cool experience. Um, I think the eye opener was really AAA. When I first got to AAA last year, was the first like eye opener of half of this locker room are big leaguers. I'm playing with big leaguers against big leaguers. There's a new transaction every single day. Like things are happening here, and I'm like starting to see it. Um, in big league camp specifically, it was really cool because again, like you see these people on TV and you kind of idolize them a little bit, and then you're in the locker room with them, and you're hanging out with them, and you're talking to them, and you're going to get coffee with them, and you're spending your whole day with these guys every single day for a month and a half. Um, yeah, it was definitely really cool. There was one outing that I had where I was like, okay, this one kind of felt special. I was pitching, and it was funny because I was living with some people that have played in the big leagues, um, who also have taught me a lot. When I first got to AAA, he was actually my roommate. So Peter Strzelecki, he was traded to us at the All-Star break, and it was the same time that I got called up to AAA. So he got traded to us, optioned down to AAA, and I just got to AAA. So it was a cool dynamic of like, okay, we're roommates in the hotel on our first road trip, and he's pissed that he's here, and I'm like the happiest person ever that I'm here. And hearing those conversations were really cool. Again, getting into like the business side of things and like what he was going through, and like, just like the stuff that again you don't know about in low A and high A and double A because you're not seeing him every day. But I remember I was living with him, and we got the schedule the night before. Of like who's pitching in what game and like what you have for the next day. And it was that I was slated to throw an inning at the Cubs spring training game. And it was going to be a night game. I think it was like a Friday night or something like that. And he was giving me a lot of crap. He was like, oh, you're going to be nervous in front of that many people? Oh, it's your first real outing. He was like, no, but it's going to be a packed house. It's going to be a really fun game to pitch in. And that was really cool. It was the first like feel of like, okay, I'm facing big leaguers. There's 15. I think there was like 15,000 people there. And I remember there was one point on the mound. I literally joked about this yesterday to one of my friends. There was one point on the mound where I was sitting there waiting for the batter to step in, and I'd put my hat really low, and I was just looking at like the crowd, and I was trying to convince myself like there was 3 decks. I was like, okay, this is like my first like real feeling of like what this could feel like.
Right.
Ended up closing that game, and it was a great experience being able to be around those guys, being around. I mean, Brett Strom and the big league pitching coaches, and just the big league coaches in general, and just so they can kind of get to know me as a player and a person. It was a great experience.
Austin, I'm going to leave you with this today. I wish you continued success. I wish you nothing but the best today and always with your beautiful fiance, Les. I miss seeing her smiley face all the time in here. Congrats to your family and where you've gotten till today. What makes me most proud of who you are is that you've never been that guy. You've never been satisfied. You're continually trying to get better at everything you do. You've never changed who you are. Like it's no big deal for me to just show up and you're hanging out in my backyard with Brett, hanging out by the fire and just talking, whatever you guys just BS about. I'm going to leave you with this promise that I expect to be the third phone call when you do get the call, because I will be on an airplane wherever you guys are to be at that first outing, and make sure that you know the love and support that has been there will always be there, but you will always be that 14, 15-year-old kid from Tuckahoe to me. I love you. Thank you for spending time with us today on 90 Feet Away. And to the audience, I hope you enjoyed this, because this is a special kid on a special journey. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you so much, man. I love you.